meeting is called to order at 6:33 p.m. We'll do the roll call. Brenda Hollingsworth.
Here.
Joni Bond. Kevin Steward. Here. David Koch. Paula Portz.
Here.
Joe Van Ginkel.
Here.
Ryan Marquardt here. I would request a motion to approve the agenda. The agenda is in front of you.
So approved. So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion been made, second. All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. There's minutes in your packet. They are literally behind the blue, I assume the light blue tab. Sorry, in front of the blue tab. Regarding the August 17th, 2023, primarily dealing with the Tyndall Auto redistricting request. Does anybody have any comments on the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
So it's good. Is there a second? Motion's been made, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Okay, the public hearing on the conditional use permit for MidAmerican Energy is opened at 6:34. The purpose of this hearing is to review the request of MidAmerican Energy Company to obtain a conditional use permit to construct an electrical transmission switching station/substation on the following described real estate currently owned by Goodby Isenberg Family Farm LLC. Parcel C in the west 820 feet in the northwest half of the southwest quarter of section 10, T 77 in R28 west of the 5th meridian PM, Madison County, Iowa, particularly described as beginning in the west quarter of section 10. Well, we're going to skip the degrees. Is that okay? So the said parcel contains 24.79 acres, more or less, which includes 0.3 acres, more or less, existing roadway right-of-way. So, you want to give the staff report?
Yep.
Sounds good.
I did put a sign-in sheet up here too. If somebody wishes to speak, please put your name and address and comment what you're commenting on.
Since Ryan's also taking notes tonight, that would be helpful. So
Yep.
we don't have to duplicate efforts.
Okay, so first off, I'm just going to kind of go through this packet with you, kind of explain what I've got laid out in front of you, commissioners. To begin with, obviously we went through I've got it posted up there, the agenda, and then we've got the minutes from our last meeting there. Next, I've got my staff report to you guys enclosed, and then the darker blue tab is the special use or conditional use application with the authorization as Exhibit A from Isenberg Family Farm. Next, I've attached an option and purchase agreement that was recorded in book 2022, page 3226. It was done in November 7th of 2022 for this request. The yellow tab, I've got the affidavit of mailing notice to everybody that received notification of the hearing and all the supporting documents in there. I've got, following that, everybody within 500 feet did receive a mailed notification of the hearing. Beyond that one, I have a map of the 500 feet showing the property owners adjoining highlighted in yellow. And then I've got an affidavit of publication showing that it was in the Madisonian on October 4th, stating the meeting tonight and the one on November 7th for the Board of Adjustment. The orange tab here is the Zoning Department project distribution. This is what I would have sent to all the agencies and other offices of the county listed on the affidavit of mailing to receive any comments or concerns or questions from them. And then I've got the public hearing notice that was published, posted here at the annex, and emailed out. And then in the back of your packet, in that folder, there is a site plan that was prepared by civil engineering consultants regarding this project. Okay, so I will go on to the staff report. MidAmerican Energy and Godby Eisenberg Family Farm LLC are requesting a conditional use permit and height authorization to erect an electrical transmission switching station or substation. MidAmerican Energy obviously is the applicant here, property owner, Godby Eisenberg Family Farm LLC. This is one parcel that has been surveyed off. It's currently zoned agricultural, and parcel size is 24.79 acres. This will require Board of Adjustment ruling to have it go into place. We've got current legal use. This parcel is currently used as agricultural row crop production, with no structures being located on the parcel. There currently is an electric transmission line running east to west, or east and west, along the southern border of the parcel. Relevant history: parcel C is a part of a 200-acre tract of land owned by Godby Eisenberg Family Farm. Graham Godby purchased this property in 1942 from Conrad Peterson family for $11,000. In 2004, MidAmerican Energy obtained an electrical line easement from the Godby Family Trust to construct the electric line that is currently situated on the property. This land was last transferred to from Godby Family Trust, Gretchen Eisenberg, to Godby Eisenberg Family Farms on December 31st of 2020. This area, this farm ground is located at the dead end of 115th Lane, approximately 2.16 miles southeast of the city limits of Earlham. No further review of the incorporated city of Earlham was necessary because it's over that two-mile radius. According to the site plan prepared for this project, the entirety of the parcel will be utilized for some component of the electrical transmission substation. No land will remain in agricultural production when it's completed. Staff has determined the CSR2 rating of this land to be 88.6, which is some of the highest in Madison County. No portion of parcel C falls within the FEMA flood zone area. There is currently an agricultural field entrance near the northwest corner of parcel C, but included in the site plan, another driveway will be installed further east, which both will need to be reviewed by Madison County engineer to ensure that they are constructed as required. To my knowledge, no driveway applications have been received by the engineer for these two proposed driveways at this time. Both the Board of Adjustment and the Zoning Commission are required to hold public hearings on conditional use permits. The Zoning Commission hears the request and after review of ordinance compliance makes its recommendation to the Board of Adjustment. The Board of Adjustment holds a separate hearing and will consider the request as well as the Zoning Commission's recommendation and make its final determination and ruling. The Board of Adjustment, as stated earlier, is the ruling body on this request. Notice of the hearing is given by publication in a local newspaper. Additionally, courtesy notices are sent to property owners within 500 feet. This notice was routed to other agencies for comment and posted at the Annex Madison County website and mailed to owners of property within 500 feet on October 10th, 2023. Additionally, the notice was published in the paper on October 4th. There's a list of the agencies there that received notification, none of which I received comment back from. Then I've got a list of applicable zoning ordinances, section 9 relating to height regulations. No building shall exceed 2 and 1/2 stories or 35 feet in height, except as provided in section 14 C-1. Structure permitted height above limits, basically stating that the Board of Adjustment can set that height limit for a conditional use permit. Section 14E addresses the conditional use in our comprehensive, or in our zoning ordinances. And specific to this one, number 12 under conditional uses, any structure or land use by public or private utility service company or corporation for public utility purpose, including sewage lagoons or for purpose of public communication in any district. The basis for such permit shall be public convenience. Finding the facts here, the applicant proposed to erect an electric transmission switching station with a requested maximum height of 75 feet. The property is currently zoned ag. The CSR, as stated, was 88.6. Nothing in the FEMA flood zone. The area has access of 115th lane. All required documents have been submitted pursuant to the Madison County Zoning Ordinance. Any improvements to the site and all activities occurring on the site must meet the rules and regulations of all local, state, and federal agencies, and any applicable permits must be obtained prior to any work being done. Some analysis here. MidAmerican Energy states that the substation is necessary to meet the energy demands of their customers, which as a regulated utility, they are required to do. The substation is needed now because of economic growth in the area. It will enhance reliability and is strategically located to minimize land impacts. It is further stated by MidAmerican Energy that the substation is not part of a wind or solar generation project. The new substation is a part of a transmission system expansion in the area. This review is to give the Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment an opportunity to review the proposal, the layout, access, lot size, and provide any facts needed, to determine if the request meets the requirements of the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan as received, and receive input from other stakeholders in the public. Access, again, I can show it on a map when I get back over there, but it's beginning at the intersection of Earlham Road and 115th Street. If you head 2.5 miles east, where 115th Street turns into 115th Lane, continue for another ½ mile, and the location will be on the south side of the road. Public notification and comments. The notice of public hearing for this application was published as required, posted on the county webpage, posted at the annex, and mailed and emailed. Notifications were sent. As proposed, this request meets the applicable standards required by the Madison County Ordinance for approval of a conditional use permit. The request does conflict, however, with the Madison County Comprehensive Plan due to the 88.66 CSR rating. Any improvements to the site and all activities occurring on the site must meet the rules and regulations, as I've already stated this, I guess I got it in here twice, but the local, state, and federal requirements, and any required permits and reviews must be obtained from applicable agencies. Staff recommendation, solely because of the comprehensive plan stating that we have a 70 CSR rating kind of base floor for development, recommends denial of the conditional use permit and the authorization to erect an electric transmission switching station in section 10 of Madison Township as shown on the material submitted. Reason for staff recommendation, again, however, it does conform with the zoning ordinance. Understood. I didn't receive any notification from anybody else. As far as standing out and saying that they don't want it or they do, as of yesterday at noon. Yeah, and then the specific language, just for record, the comprehensive plan specifically states to preserve and protect prime productive agricultural land, 70 CSR and above, from development and utilize less productive land first. It also states to ensure the comprehensive plan is considered whenever major alterations or improvements are proposed. You guys have any questions for me?
I do. I have a question, Ryan.
Yep.
So this particular section is part of a larger tract of land that's being farmed currently?
Yeah, Gobby Eisenberg has 200 acres, roughly, plus or minus 200 acres of.
And they're wanting to dedicate about 24 acres.
Yeah, and that's already been, there's been a plat of survey done for parcel C, which is the 24.79 acres.
And will this somehow affect the farming and the rest of that? The access?
As far as the access to the farm, I think it dead ends there. They would still have access to the remainder to be able to continue their farming operation.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ron. So if there's any individuals that wish to speak, now's your chance. Go up there, sign in, name, address, and then let us know your name, and we'll take it from there. You generally ask for 2 minutes, but in this case, we're not going to worry about that. We're not going to time, so I'm going to have full people here.
I don't think I need to use the microphone. I think I have a loud enough voice.
That's
Is that
cool.
okay?
That's perfectly fine.
Thank you. My name is Dane Stevens, Vice President of Transmission Development and Planning at MidAmerican Energy Company. I have a few other folks here from MidAmerican and a consultant here as well to answer questions if you have any. Just thought I'd make a few comments about the project. Just start with what the substation is. This is going to be used for an electrical switching substation. The substation is part of a transmission system expansion in the area. The substation is adjacent to an existing electric transmission line. Sort of by definition, in order to construct a substation, you have to construct it next to an existing transmission line, especially a switching station like this one. It's also, the site is there's a cell phone tower there, and it's at the end of a dead-end road, which will extend that in order to get to the property. The substation is located in an area that, from MidAmerican's point of view, from a construction and operations standpoint, meets our criteria, which would include, for example, it's not in the floodplain, the land is relatively flat, doesn't require a lot of grading or fill, and it's not adjacent to any public facilities. Also, when we construct the substation, design and construct, MidAmerican will follow all local and state permitting requirements. A little bit about what the substation isn't. I think this was said already. It's not part of a wind farm or a solar project. It has a distinct and dedicated use as a transmission facility, but not for purpose of connecting a wind farm or a solar project. The substation will not be noisy, it won't be brightly lit, it will not be a nuisance, there won't be special traffic considerations because of the substation. The substation also is not near any occupied dwellings. The nearest occupied dwelling is about a half mile away. A little bit about benefits to Madison County through the construction of the substation. This transmission in general and the transmission expansion project that we're contemplating serves a public use by improving reliability for everyone in the area. And when we use the word area, we mean local and a little bit broader area as well. So in and around Madison County is kind of how I would describe that. The substation will be used in the future to serve load in this area, including customers in DeSoto, rural Earlham, Van Meter, kind of in that area, MidAmerican's retail customers. The expansion is needed. It meets the needs of load growth associated with economic growth, additional population, additional electrical demands on the electric utility system. The expansion, though, will also provide local reliability benefits and just to the local area. And reliability is really important because that promotes health, safety, general welfare of the public. The transmission system expansion will also have some other benefits in terms of providing additional capacity, which enables additional throughput of power throughout the transmission system. Generally a good thing for wholesale power markets, so that helps all utilities, so not just MidAmerican would benefit. Municipal utilities in the area would benefit. Central Iowa Power Cooperative would benefit. The rural electric cooperatives connected to or part of SIPCO would benefit as well. This particular substation location, one of the reasons why we selected this location is it does minimize or reduce the total number of transmission miles that would be needed for an additional or a separate transmission line project that we would be constructing in the future. A few other aspects that we think are important. The project it's a reasonable use in the public convenience. Again, to provide reliable service to all of our customers, and it is part of a broader plan to do so. Also, the project is comprehensively planned. I think I mentioned this before, but it won't spur development, so it won't bring on the kinds of concerns that the county may be concerned with. Talk just a little bit about the comprehensive plan and the CSR impact. Just again, from our view, just looking at the comprehensive plan and what that's all about, we would say that the objectives in the comprehensive plan provide guidance, but they're not a hard, fast rule. We think that there is flexibility. So, in the purpose of a conditional use permit is to promote flexibility. Utility facilities are specifically consistent with agricultural land use, and in our view, it's not unusual at all to site substations in agricultural areas. All around the state of Iowa, you will see substations in agricultural areas. I just also say utility facilities, they're specifically recognized in their special use provisions and apply to all zoned areas, including agricultural zoned areas. In this specific case, it's very limited development. We think it's a small footprint. Voluntarily negotiated with the landowner, who we believe should have some right to determine the best use of that property. It's not the kind of development that is best or exclusively consolidated in incorporated areas, nor is it the kind of development that will spur further development immediately in that area. Like I mentioned before, it's not going to spur a lot of development. And we believe this is not the kind of commercial or industrial activity that is envisioned in the commercial and industrial land use objectives. We think that section is pretty clearly focused on things like labor, transportation, intensive activities that generate noise and traffic. As I mentioned, this will not be noisy, will not generate traffic. And it also avoids residential developments. So I guess just in closing, we believe that the substation facility, again, is necessary to serve a public use, and we believe that it's is appropriate for that purpose. I would just mention, if you have further deliberations, again, our team is available to answer questions if you'd like to. I'm available right now to answer questions, or however you want to.
Yeah,
Were there any other parcels that were reviewed and looked at and considered before this one was decided upon?
Yes. So we looked at a number of parcels, sort of east and west, all along that transmission line. As I mentioned, the substation has to connect to that transmission line, which runs east and west. And so we looked at several locations, both west and east of this location. And it's always, for us, we always endeavor to have a voluntary engagement with landowners and meeting all of our criteria. And this is just the best parcel from our perspective. Like I mentioned before, it doesn't require a lot of grading. It's relatively remote from anything else. Obviously, it's adjacent to the transmission line. The transmission line goes through the parcel already. And in our view, moving the substation either east or west along that transmission corridor, we would start to see a fall off in terms of that trade-off of benefits.
I can attest that I know of, living up in that area and owning land there and having peers up there, I know other places that have been approached, and when I can comparatively to this one does seem like a less intrusive site to neighbors than other places that I know of.
So did you have some other acceptable sites that were under 70 CSR?
That may be a question for Kelsey. I'll step aside, let her sign in.
One thing I'll say in defense of the higher CSR is CSR does take into effect topography, and this thing wants to be on level ground, so.
But it doesn't have to be on level ground.
It doesn't have to be, but there's
The ground can be made level.
It can be made level, but that's more site specific, so yeah. I get,
So that's
I get the argument.
in my opinion, a MidAmerican issue, not a
Sure.
Madison County issue.
So I looked at Surety this afternoon and asked it to do the calculation for me all along that transmission line. So again, capturing the parcels both north and south of that line. I went from about Highway 169 over to the county line. We do have what we call our Earlham substation is in that area too, very similar CSR to this. And what I was finding is there were slopes of greater than 18%. There were also some water issues that were identified by that, and I will say that the DNR in Iowa has jurisdiction over substation locations in flood-prone areas, and so that is a strict state restriction that we have to stay away from those. So to get below the 70 CSR, that's pretty consistently what I was seeing is that grade and those known flood issues on Surety.
That part of the county too is kind of up on the flatter part now, so it's hard to not get that CSR.
So am I reading the special use permit tax application correctly, that you would pay $850,000 for that 25 acres?
That provision, is that something Marty, you're
You're just asking for the purchase price. I can get that.
That's what you're gonna pay the property owner.
The agreed upon price is $30,000 per acre, and that per acre is determined in the survey. That's in that option agreement that Ryan said was recorded.
So So since this transmission line runs all along there, are there future plans for additional substations in the county along the same line?
Let's see. No, not at this time. We don't have anything in our plan. But I just want to be clear, we are planning a transmission line project that will connect to the substation in the future. That's the part, that's the purpose of a switching station, is to create sort of that junction point to connect other facilities with the grid.
Right, so on the site plan, I believe it'll be kind of phased, the way I take it. There's a small portion of it that will be hooked up to what's there now and then eventually added on to with the rest of it. I don't think initially it's gonna take up the whole 24 acres, but over time it looks to have additional.
Has the capacity to expand.
Yeah, that's correct. The existing transmission line there's actually 2 circuits, we call them, on that same structure. The first phase of the project will be to tie into one of those 2 circuits on those double circuit structures. And then later we'll tie into the second circuit that's already there on those double circuit structures.
Any other questions?
Just a comment.
Go
I
ahead.
had a little quick calculation here. You know, my family's been farming in Madison County for quite a few years. We go back to pioneer days. And so we have a big appreciation for CSR and the productivity of the ground. We also have an appreciation for the idea that landowners should be able to determine the use of their land. As I calculated this, typically we produce about 200 acres of, or 200 bushels of corn on 1 acre. And so on a 25-acre piece of ground, that's going to be about $30,000. And here's an opportunity for a landowner to get $25, 25 times that amount for their operation. And so I just think that we have to think in terms of both property owner rights and what's best for Madison County.
Oftentimes in farming, retirement is selling
Yes.
your land because
Yes.
you are so tied up in assets.
We have a land energy substation about a mile from our house.
Sure.
And I'm very positive towards that and you know, feel good about what you're wanting to do as far as supporting electric energy going forward. But the substation we're from, living a mile from it, does improve our electrical service. I mean, we do not have very many outages.
I'll take
that. But I also know from that station, and I mean, no problems with the station or anything like that. But I mean, that's probably built on 50 CSR ground, and I mean 0 issues. So.
I should have said this originally, but we do view ourselves as a forever neighbors, and we want to have good relationships with our forever neighbors, so we do everything we can to operate, maintain, take care of our facilities in a very conscious manner.
Any other questions? Comments?
Do you guys have any concern about, just from talking with them, like building setbacks or the height? I mean, that can be kind of recommended to the Board of Adjustment on, say 75 is not a concern, if you want the setbacks to be what they are. So they didn't put the setbacks on the site plan because it can be determined by the boards and the commissions. As it sits now, our ordinance.
What does subdivision say?
So all property lines now is 50 from the front and the rear, which would be the north and the south, and then 25 from the sides, which would be the east and the west of this particular property.
How many miles is this from Earlham?
As the crow flies, it's like 2.16.
It's out there, not a lot out in that particular pocket. It's like one little pocket, there's not a lot of, there's just stuff that goes up to
But the annexation circle is 2 miles, right?
They have jurisdiction to review 2 miles.
Right.
Yeah, so it's outside of their expertise.
And where I'm going with that is as Earlham grows, it will probably expand out. So how much of that land will end up getting developed down the road anyway?
I don't, in my opinion, I think Earlham is trying to figure out what they're doing their comprehensive plan now in terms of their preferential direction for growth. My suspicion is that preferential direction for growth. Usually a city will pick a direction and kind of prefer to grow out in that direction.
Mhm.
You can see that in Winterset, you can see that almost in any city.
Right.
I think they're gonna go north toward the Iowa University.
Yeah.
Primarily. And so this is to the east. I think could honestly be 50 years before they get.
Okay.
That kind of, and you can see the city limits boundary of Earlham in red, and then the highlighted parcel is
Might actually goes towards my concern of maintaining the integrity of the farmland if Earlham is not going to be growing that direction. So I look at that map and I look at, okay, if we go just a mile east, are we going to have some lower CSR ground that can be utilized?
This is really hilly. This is like this whole area is pretty. There's a lot of topography in there. It's a lot.
And I don't know what the residences are as you go east or such.
There is more housing off to the.
Where's the transmission line?
Or to the south.
you kind of see the poles.
Poles.
And then it runs.
Joe, if I could interrupt for just a second, I made a map of where the power line goes if you guys are interested in looking at it.
Feel free to bring it back up. At some point, if you got a comment,
Do you want it now, or?
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
especially, bring it on up, so we can.
That's the Marquardt, Earlham. This is the proposed one. Boonville. This is the big one by Waukee. This is a 1-4 Waukee, I believe, just in the Coach. And this is the type of transmission line that we're talking about. I just took that picture today.
So, we have any other questions for Dan? Does anybody else want to speak?
Oh,
Lectern's over. Anybody else
Okay.
wants to offer public comment?
Oh.
Now's your opportunity. So go ahead and sign in and okay.
well, about the only thing I have to say is usually
when these special permits are requested, they don't come forward with a whole lot of information. They give you what's legally required to give the information, and that's why I made that map. Kind of gives you a better perspective of what the power line does, where it goes, what it's hooked to. And their proposed substation is kind of in the middle of nowhere. And they're saying that they're going to have future lines coming from it. Are the future lines going to go north and south? Is that going to require eminent domain? Or voluntary easements and so forth? And one of my questions is, like you guys have brought up, there's some pasture ground just diagonal from it. Why take the high productive ag ground out of production? Why not choose one of these other locations? And the answer to that is, it's going to cost them more money to level the ground. So they're going for the least expensive, better route for themselves. But is that the better route for Madison County? It's not our duty to necessarily worry about their piggy bank and their pocketbook. So in this case, I would not necessarily be against the substation, but the location where it's at. And I think they could do a little more legwork and find a location. I don't understand why they're practically 3 miles away from Highway 169 when there's a new subdivision with a whole bunch of lots straight east of there, but to the north side of that blue line. It's already been approved, it's already been plotted out. Why not locate it closer to that? You know, I mean, when they put in wind turbines, they built roads back to the wind turbines with no issue. There's no reason why they couldn't grade a road or something, you know, to get to their substation. Maybe the substation should be on the east side of 169. That's where all the growth is. And if you look at my map, I know when you're going to Des Moines right now, they're adding cross arms to that main line as it crosses Interstate 80. So obviously that's going to the Apple substation and heading probably for that Boonville substation, or that's what I call the Boonville substation. I don't know if it's Van Meter or Boonville. It's a pretty good sized substation. There's just right next to it, there's a big development. It's just south of Highway 90. It's in Dallas County. You get there just west of Boonville and you can turn to the south and go back, and there's some high dollar houses back in there. I think that substation's just to the south of it. But nonetheless, it does concern me that the main line's going east and west, and they say they're going to tie to it in the future. They're going to go north and south. They're going to go right straight through there. They're going to head for Winterset. You know, there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered, and I don't know if they can answer them right now, but there's always a proposed future. You know, they don't do something without looking into the future. What's the demand going to be? What's going to be the easiest route for us to take? And if you were to ask anybody that's up in the northeast corner of Madison County about Microsoft and the power lines that had to go across their properties, and a few of them didn't agree to it, and they had to use eminent domain, you know. I mean, you just can't predict the future, but you got to think about it a little bit. That's basically all I had to say.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I think that brings up a good point. I mean, are there plans for north-south lines to go through that station?
So earlier I mentioned that it's part of a broader transmission expansion plan. We are contemplating building a transmission line that would connect to the substation. The line I need to walk right now is the Iowa Utility Board governs that process, and there are provisions in the code that prohibit MidAmerican from talking about that proposed transmission line before we hold a public informational meeting.
Yeah.
So we can't get sideways with those requirements. I would just say though that the Iowa Utility Board has a very robust process for vetting any transmission line that gets constructed. MidAmerican has to show need for the transmission line. We have to show that it's in the public, the interest. We have to show that we follow the utility board's routing requirements, or it's articulated in the law, in the regulations itself, how we can route a transmission line. Then what I also say, when we go to build a transmission line, we do very detailed routing studies. We have a lot of criteria that we use to try to minimize to the maximum extent possible impact on landowners. So again, I wish I could say a lot more about that plan, future project, but I really can't get into that other than to say that again, there is a very robust process for landowner involvement when it comes to that point of building that transmission line in the future.
Any questions? Is there any other public comments? Anybody? The landowners here, are they? So after hearing comments from all interested and affected individuals and organizations, noting that consideration will be given to all comments and suggestions that have been made, I would ask for a motion to close public hearing.
So motion.
For a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The public hearing for the consideration of conditional use permit to be issued to MidAmerican and Company is closed at 7:20 p.m. The zoning commission can consider the case and formulate a recommendation to be submitted to Madison County Board of Adjustments. Is there, I would entertain a motion regarding the conditional use permit. I'd also entertain discussion people have, because I do feel significantly conflicted out over the ag versus, I can see both arguments for very.
I mean,
legitimate.
stable power
Right. Well, they're both legitimate arguments.
would be nice. Yeah, because, we're in a situation where we don't always have stable power from our substation. So I completely support that, but also see the other point of, that's a perfect little piece of property there.
Right. Well, and the other thing, I'm like, well, if you take a look at your property and to do more grading, how much more environmental disturbance we're talking to get that thing up to a grade that they want to consider? Is that like, you're just chasing your tail to get some short term, they're gonna pay more for this ground than they would that ground, so. Because of the CSR.
Yeah. I do it all the time.
Any other discussion, or do we want to entertain a motion? Got anything?
No.
No? Well, I'd entertain a motion one way or the other here, so, somebody want to make something, and we'll run with it. Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit?
Yes.
Brenda would make that. Is there a second? I would second it. Motion's been made and seconded. Let's do a roll call vote then, since I suspect this, we'll see how this goes. So the motion to approve the conditional use permit, the roll call, Brenda Hollingsworth.
Yes.
Next one here, Kevin,
No.
Paula,
No.
Joe,
No.
Ryan, yes. Motion does not pass. Is there a motion to deny the conditional use permit?
Did we just do that?
Well, we
basically?
just didn't approve it.
I'll make a motion to,
Motion's been made to deny the conditional use permit. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Do a roll call. Brenda, Kevin,
Yes.
Paula,
yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Ryan, no. Motion passes, so the conditional use permit has been, our recommendation has been to deny the conditional use permit. So Ryan Hobart will deliver the zoning commission's recommendation to the Madison County Board of Adjustment at a public hearing scheduled for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in this very conference room, where a decision on the conditional use permit will be rendered before, doesn't it then go to the supervisors? No, it's just a written, they're final.
Board of Adjustments, fine.
Okay. So, is there any other business?
Where are we at on our upgraded comprehensive plan?
It's meeting Monday.
We got a meeting Monday.
They brought back, I don't know how many chapters, some additional chapters to review the document. I'm hopeful maybe that it can go to public by the end of the year, maybe.
Did we get a review where we're at with it then?
That, yeah, I mean, that'll be a part of,
Yeah,
part
so
of it as they,
the consultants have distributed to the committee several chapters to review and get feedback for Monday. So once that process has been completed, then it will, take it, you know, then we'll finally roll the thing out and give the talk and how we show them. Well, they will, because they're being paid to do that. So.
Okay.
we will have a subdivision on November 16th,
November 16th subdivision, okay?
major subdivision.
Oh, I was looking, my calendar's not in there.
Where's that at right now? You don't have to say it, you can't say.
Hogback Bridge, north of town.
Is it, it's not like right up on it, is it? Is that not in the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction? Well, it doesn't matter.
November 16th, okay.
November 16th.
November 16th.
Any other business? I'd entertain, well, we're just gonna, I don't have to do a motion, we'll just adjourn then at 7:26.
Yep.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.